The whole world is sick. Not just one part of the world. When a human organism is sick, one cannot amputate an arm or a leg and feel that one has completely eradicated a poison, particularly when it is through the system. So it is with the world. We cannot... My angel's getting rambunctious tonight, I see that. It is impossible for us just simply to point our finger to one particular country and say that it is wrong. Our great problem, of course, is communism. What is the role of communism? That will be our subject tonight, or perhaps half of it. The role of communism in the world, and also, in relation to it, the role of America. The role of communism we will discuss, first of all, before the conversion of Russia. Because communism will never be defeated. Communism will be converted. If the world is ever to have peace, be converted to God. And then we will talk of the role of communism after conversion. First of all, the role of communism before conversion. The role of communism now, in other words, what is it? The best answer to that question is given in the words of our divine Lord. He said, "Where the body is, there shall the eagles be gathered together. Wherever the carcass is, there shall come the vultures." Very often in the desert, an animal or a human dies. The moment of its death, one can see nothing in the clear skies. And then suddenly, from out mountain fastnesses and rocky crags, these vultures of the skies come down to this glittering rottenness in order to devour it. These winged creatures are a kind of an avenger and a punisher. They are a judgment upon death and corruption. And just as soon as corruption sets in, these winged monsters appear, shrieking and croaking and winging their way to death itself. And that indeed is a symbol of civilizations, for they die too, just as well as animal and human life. And whenever a civilization begins to die morally or spiritually, then there begin to appear vultures. And that is the mission of communism in the world. Communism is the scavenger of decaying civilizations. It makes its way into a country and into a culture only when that culture begins to rot from the inside. Measure of the incipient death in any civilization is the progress that communism makes. And just as soon as this culture begins to die, then this winged scavenger, with the mechanical wings of hammer and sickles, descend upon these decaying countries in order to devour them. Toynbee says in his history that 16 out of 19 civilizations that have decayed from the beginning of the world until the present time have decayed from within. Lincoln always said that America would never be conquered from without. If it ever perished, and please God it will not, it would come only from within. The proper way then to look upon communism is to see in it a judgment of God. Communism is something that came out of our Western civilization anyway. It came out of what was putrid and foul and dead in our thinking. There is not a single philosophical idea in communism that did not come from the West. Its philosophy came from Germany, its sociology from France, its economics from England. And what Russia gave it was an Asiatic soul and power and force. Communism then is coming back upon the Western world because something died in the Western world. Namely, the strong faith of men in the God that made them. And before Russia is won back again to the faith, therefore, regard communism as a kind of a manure, a fertilizer. It is a death that is spread upon the civilizations of the world until the springtime of a newer and better world begins to come into being. This is the role of communism from a divine point of view, before conversion, and then afterwards, what will it be? When Russia receives the gift of faith, Russia will have a new role. And its role then will be to be an apostle to the rest of the world. It will help bring faith to the rest of the world. Why are we so hopeful about Russia? Why should it be the means of evangelizing nations of the earth? For one reason. Russia has fire. It has zeal. Communism has that, and foul and dead in our thinking. There is not a single philosophical idea in communism that did not come from the West. Its philosophy came from Germany, its sociology from France, its economics from England. And what Russia gave it was an Asiatic soul and power and force. Communism then is coming back upon the Western world because something died in the Western world. Namely, the strong faith of men in the God that made them. And before Russia is won back again to the faith, therefore, regard communism as a kind of a manure, a fertilizer. It is a death that is spread upon the civilizations of the world until the springtime of a newer and better world begins to come into being.